we do have a border crisis, and the American people will not allow us to work on legal immigration issues like, job vacancies in agriculture, food and beverage, hospitality, childcare, something that many Americans live with, until they believe that we have security at the border. However, what the American people are also saying is have a process as you deport people. Don't deport U.S. citizen children who are battling cancer. And that's where this administration, I think, is losing credibility with the American people. And now we're seeing that they can't deport the people who are threats to the community, and instead they're getting rid of kids who are battling cancer.
And on my very first briefing several months ago, I said I would hold anyone accountable in this room. The Washington Post actually had this headline: the mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures on the U.S.-Mexico border. How is this mysterious? There is no mystery about why there is a decrease in fentanyl coming into the United States. This administration's strong border policies are the reason there has been a decrease in fentanyl trafficking. His strengthened relationship with Mexican President Sheinbaum and all of the measures he has been taking to deter illegal human and drug trafficking at our United States southern border is the reason for plummeting fentanyl seizures at the U.S. border. There is nothing mysterious about that, and we'd like to see the Washington Post update their headline accordingly. This is clearly trying to intentionally manipulate the minds of the Americans, and I think the American people understand why there's been a fentanyl drop. And our office responded to this inquiry. We provided a whole host of the reasons that fentanyl seizures at the southern border have dropped, and the Washington Post refused to run them, and that's despicable.
The media don't learn anything either, it seems like. As well from the intro, Caroline Leavitt finished just mollywopping the Washington Post. And you saw Eric Swalwell. He's been making the rounds. I saw he had a video with the Breakfast Club. I didn't even bother watching it, but he has a trucker's hat. He's sitting here trying to pretend that he talks to men. Oh, I talk to guys on the gym, and they say these things. And look how off he is. Like you saw from the beginning, he talks about how we're in a border crisis right now. What are you talking about? Where are these people getting their information from? What border crisis are you talking about? Crime across the country is down. Deportations are going up. The border crossing has declined 95% compared to last year. What border crisis are you talking about? And that's why I followed up with his nonsensical statement with the Leavitt checking Washington Post about mysteriously fentanyl is declining into the United States. Duh, because it was being brought in by illegal immigrants, human traffickers, right? And now border crossings is down 95%. Of course it's done. And this is their intention. And this is where she called it out perfectly. And this is why, in the grand scheme of things, Republicans or conservatives seem to have more credibility than Democrats, because conservatives have a proven track record of being right? And this is the funny part. I got an interesting montage for you here, because this is how out of touch, like imagine a Democratic supporter, because end of the day, the only political group the majority of them trust the news outlet, the news media, are Democrat supporters, are Democrat voters. Democrat voters are the only political group that trusts the mainstream media. So when you got 51% of a political group called the Democratic Party trusting news like this, it's no wonder a lot of them don't understand what the hell is going on.
It's not working, right? And you look at the polling, and the president's underwater on dealing with the economy, way underwater on handling inflation and cost. And these were once Republican strong suits, right? The Republicans always had an advantage on the economy and dealing with it and dealing with these sort of pocketbook issues over Democrats. They don't have that anymore. You can't go on a focus group, and it's amazing. You can't go on a focus group with moderates, progressives, or even conservatives, and the first things they're talking about is tariffs, and the first thing they're talking about is how costs aren't going down. So if they're going to fix this, they've got to fix it very quickly before it gets baked in. Because I'm afraid right now, when you look at how his numbers are, and I'm not being partisan, look at how his numbers have gone underwater around basic economic indicators. It's beginning to get baked in, and I think this is a fundamental problem for Republicans.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
How Americans sort of see the parties. Which party is better described as the party with strong leaders? Look at this.
Wow.
16% of Americans say Democrats, 40% say that of the Republican Party. Now, Overall, no party's doing great. Lots of Americans say neither of these qualities apply to either party, but look at how much worse off the Democrats are. A party that gets things done. Only 19% of Americans say that about the Democrats. 36% say it about the Republicans. In fact, the only place that the Democrats are numerically ahead, party of the middle class, this is basically a tie, though. Yeah. 34% say that of Democrats, 32% say that of Republicans. But this, I think, is the most fascinating. How do partisans talk about their own party? Right? So among Democrats and Democratic leaners, 32% say Democrats are the party with strong leaders. I mean, of their own kind, right? 82% of Republican and Republican leaders say that about the GOP. Only 41% of Democrats say they're the party that gets things done of their own kind. And I will just say, 51%, Manu, a majority of Democratic and Democratic leaners say neither party gets the party that gets things done attribute. Imagine that's the project that Democrats are working on. Yeah.
Well, I just disagree with David. I think working class Americans see Donald Trump as fighting for them, and they see the Democratic Party elites as being out of touch with them, not just on the economy, but on a range of issues. I think these things are more interconnected than you want to believe. And, you know, if you can't trust what a Democrat says about, you know, something that seems like an 80-20 or a 90-10 or a 95-5 issue, then why would I trust you when you're out here crapping on Donald Trump's economic agenda? And by the way, I don't believe that people are going away from the president on his economic policies. They do believe he's fighting for working class Americans. They do believe he is, you know, the things he is doing are more for Main Street than Wall Street right now. And I do believe he has a longer leash than you're giving him right now to enact his agenda, which is still unfolding, of course, in the Congress right now. Well,
I'm just going to leave this right here. I'm just going to leave this right here. Eggs went down. Egg prices went down. What is this guy talking about? Cost is going up. Where is he seeing these metrics, right? And this is one thing I don't know when that became a thing, but this frame says it all. Democrats do not want this information getting to the working class Americans. If it all happened exactly as promised, they have no response. They don't. Instead, they got this guy. And when did those glasses became a thing? I'm noticing a lot of liberal men wear these glasses. It don't make y'all smart. I'm sorry. Glasses don't make you smart. I'm sorry. The glasses don't make the man. The man make the glasses. That's all I'm going to say right there. He claims that being partisan by claiming that Trump's poll numbers are underwater on the economy. When I just showed you videos before, I think on other video I did, about how Americans trust the GOP more on the economy than Democrats, regardless of the fear-mongering coming from the mainstream media. And I hope you guys enjoyed the clip that I showed, because the Russell Westbrook meme perfectly encapsulates exactly how I felt when I heard that statement from this guy. I'm like, yo, what polls are you looking at? And this is what I'm talking about. Bias is a filter. And today you can be the smartest, brightest person I know, but if you have a bias, you will filter out information that's inconvenient for a conclusion you're trying to reach.
Recently that it is, quote, blatantly wrong to say that it adds to the deficit. You essentially said that an estimate from the Congressional Budget Office and other scorekeepers you believe are wrong. But Republicans like Ron Johnson and Rand Paul disagree. They are saying that it will add to the deficit. That is their concern. Is the White House's position that those two Republican senators are, quote, blatantly wrong?
It is. Those senators, it's not news that they disagree with this president on policy, and the president has vocally called them out for it and for their not having their facts together. I would add the Congressional Budget Office has been historically wrong. In fact, they predicted the Trump tax cuts from the president's first term in 2017. Their prediction was wrong by $500 billion. Those tax cuts had nearly $500 billion more of revenue than the Congressional Budget Office scored. And I would also point out, I don't think many people know this, there hasn't been a single staffer in the entire Congressional Budget Office that has contributed to a Republican since the year 2000. But guess what? There have been many staffers within the Congressional Budget Office who have contributed to Democrat candidates and politicians every single cycle since. So unfortunately, this is an institution in our country that has become partisan and political, and we are very confident in our own economic analyses of this bill. There is $1.6 trillion in savings, and our Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, is a fiscal hawk. He is well known in this city for being a well-respected fiscal hawk. He has tools at his disposal to produce even more savings. And as you know, the White House will be sending our rescissions package to Capitol Hill today.
It's so funny when the Congressional Budget Office, when you find out facts like that, hey, since the year 2000, these people have not donated to a single Republican. They, through their actions, they show you that they're not bipartisan, they're not balanced, that this is something that you have to factor in when you're hearing information that is politically convenient for an institution that you can agree votes and donates to a particular party, right? If there's no balanced views, then you're not getting a balanced analysis of what's going on. And the fact that they've been wrong, right? So not only that I have the political bias angle that I can use to discount the CBO projections on Trump's agenda and the outcomes of Trump's agenda, but they've already been wrong about previous analysis on Trump's agenda. And one of the biggest reasons why the media can't seem to get the correct framing, the truth and the reality of what's going to happen in our economy or the real outcomes of Trump's agenda is because of their political bias, only looking for negatives because they already have a preconceived conclusion about Donald Trump. Me, I'm taking the wait and see approach. Okay, we'll see. Here's his goal. Here's what he's trying to do. Here's how he believes the tariffs will help get his end goal. Sounds plausible. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it plays out. But the media, they pretend that they have a looking glass. They pretend that they're a seer and they can look into the future. And when that future continuously be different from the framing that they initially led with, oh my God, they're wrong. Oh my God, we're going to face a Trump recession. And then the same people that are saying that they're going to face a Trump recession just predicted that in quarter 2 of 2025, they're expecting a 4.6% increase in the GDP. Make that make sense. How we went from first quarter of 2025, negative GDP growth. Oh my God, we're heading into a recession. And then the second quarter, we're going to go into mass growth. Make it make sense. And you wonder why people don't believe you. And I'm glad I make this channel because it gives me a track record to see, okay, where did my analysis fail? Where was my analysis spot on? Or where was my analysis closer to the reality of what happened? It's all well documented on this channel. And this is something that the media can no longer get away with. Before on television, if you didn't record it, you can't show people what happened. You can't show people what was reported on the news, and stuff gets memory hold. Not in this day and age, not in 2025. Now every moment, everything's clipped. There's a clip out there, you have evidence. People have receipts on receipts on receipts about statements made, promises made, framings, projections, predictions. We have all that information on the internet. And all it takes is a curious voter, a curious American to start doing research, and it's a wrap for the media narrative. And this is something that the media has not woken up to. This is why legacy media is hollowing out. Because people they don't understand that people have receipts now. People can go back, oh, let me see on Twitter. Did this happen? Oh, here's a video. Okay, let me watch. Wow. I can't believe they lied to me like that. They still pretending that this is the year 2000. This is the year 2025. What worked in the year 2000 ain't working today. And the media has not updated their playbook. The Democrats have not updated their playbook. They're going to go on the Breakfast Club and pretend, wear a trucker's hat, pretend that, oh yeah, I'm a bro just like you. I'm part of the gym bros. The same political party that have a group of individuals that put out articles talking about how working out is inherently right-wing.
You've got U.S. business leaders begging for certainty. So why did the president suddenly decide to hike tariffs on steel and aluminum again?
You also have U.S. business leaders begging to meet with this president and begging to come to the White House to talk to him because they know that he is a negotiator in chief, that he's making good deals on behalf of the American worker and the steel worker in particular when it comes to the steel and aluminum tariffs, which he discussed in his speech at length at Pennsylvania and the need for them. And I would just add, I was at that speech on Friday with the president, and there were 2,000 steel workers and their families in the room, many of them wearing their hard hats. I spoke to one backstage who said this is the greatest thing that has happened for that community in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 60 years, because this is a president who doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk too, and he's delivering on his promises to bolster our steel and aluminum industries in this country.
And that's something that the media don't want to report on, right? And that's why I was shocked. The only thing I was shocked about the CNN poll was the fact that it was so close between who people consider to be the party of the working class. And what Trump did in Pennsylvania, it might have sealed Pennsylvania, at least for another election in the pocket of the Republican Party, because I saw news, you have a lot of steel workers in Pennsylvania who are like multi-generational steel workers working in the same company, multi-generational, working in the same company their great grandfathers worked in. And they talk about how what Trump is doing with these tariffs and tariffing foreign steel into the America, essentially bolstering and giving more job security to these people who depend on these jobs. And they're saying that, yo, I didn't think in my lifetime something like this would happen. That's the kind of sentiments being said by Pennsylvania voters who voted for Donald Trump. Results. No one cares about Democrats' excuses. No one cares that Democrats don't have power. Hey, give us an alternative. Democrats have no alternative. Media talking about these weird narratives. Okay, steel companies saying this is hurting them. Why are you not talking about the steel companies that's helping them? Because that'll bring up balance, right? The media can't have nuance. Nuance destroys narratives, right? And I talk about this all the time. Like, end of the day, the best I can do is clarify my position, and that's fine. Clarity, right? But the media is not seeking clarity. They're not seeking, okay, where's Trump's? They're trying to cast like a negative perception and try to get Trump to like scramble and defend their position. No, they just like, no, there's people who actually like this, and this is who we voted for. Here's why. And this, it just destroys their narrative. It destroys their narrative completely. Because that's all they have left. All they have left is essentially manipulation, right? New polls paint a bleak picture for Democrats, right?
All right, so here's the problem. This is different. The damage is done. The Democrats always thrived on hoaxes, assuming that by the time the big lie would be exposed, whether it would be Russian collusion or the Fine People hoax, they already got what they needed. The emotional impact of the lie resonated. The truth didn't matter. It's based on that understanding that you know, and working in the press office, the big story always lands on the front page. 2 weeks later, the corrections on page B7. Yeah. That's how it worked. The New York Times and the Washington Post still have their Pulitzers for the alleged Russian interference story, even though we know it's BS. But then something happened, and this is why it's so different. Tapper's book came out, and he deflates this hoax. But it was a hoax that we already knew, but his audience didn't.
And this is the shocking part. And this is what I'm talking about. Democrats are a party of hoaxes, and their supporters are a believer of hoaxes. So who's the cult? Who's the liars? Right? Democrats, every accusation is a confession. When a Democratic supporter comes to me and say, "Oh, you believe in a con man," I'm looking at them like your whole party's a con. Majority of your voters don't even believe that your party can get anything done, and you want me, an independent, to vote for your party? Those are the comebacks I say sometimes. Because sometimes I just get tired. I get tired of being lectured by a group of voters that blatantly got led astray by their party because they didn't like Donald Trump. That's the reality of Democrat support. It's not based on a competing vision of how to run the country. It's only based on emotional, subjective feelings about an individual called Donald J. Trump. That's it. That's the only thing tying Democratic voters together.
It was the first time that the correction didn't get buried in the back pages. Biden's infirmity is now more well known than Biden himself. His name will never be separated from what happened.
That's a good point. Biden's legacy is forever tarnished by this. I think when you bring up the name Joe Biden, the first thing people are going to remember is the cover-up, his mental decline. That's it. They're not going to remember the Obama years when he was vice president. They're not going to even remember his presidency. And even when people remember their presidency, they remember how much bad it was. The highest inflation rate in 40 years, 2022. The media spinning saying we suffered 2 negative GDP growth in 2022. And the media sat here and gaslight us talking about how inflation is transitory and we're not in a recession. But everything felt like a recession. That's what people are going to remember. The legacy of Joe Biden will be forever remembered as the most deceitful era in politics. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with that sentiment.
So the interesting thing, even more interesting than that, if you can imagine, the book didn't sell. That tells you everything. His audience, Jake's audience, was just informed that they were stupid, that they were gullible, that they just got taken. Who wants to buy that book? more important, who wants to be a part of that party that sold you that lie? I don't think there's any way you can walk back from this hoax the way you could with others, because it was played on your side, and the reveal is so spectacular. And the result is resentment, bitterness, disgust over the actions of a party who thought they could pull this off, assuming that the correction would be minor. Instead, it is huge, perhaps the biggest political scandal in history. Finally, in terms of politics in general, the brainwash has worn off. You know, Trump didn't just make the red hats, he made the red pills. People now realize the Dems have no truth, but just assigned opinions.
Exactly. Oh my God. Gut fell. This is why more people watch Fox News than CNN. Look at the stats. Look at the stats. This is what people getting at Fox News. Gone are the days where people used to mock people. Oh, you watch Fox News? Now it's like, oh, I watch Fox News. This is why Fox News is highly rated. You ain't going to get a political analysis like this. Let's hear it again, dog. I got to hear this again, because this is exactly what I've been saying on the interwebs.
People now realize that the Dems have no truth, but just assigned opinions. Think about all of these opinions. You know, rich people bad, poor people good, Joe Biden fine, Trump Hitler, George Floyd a martyr, BLM heroic, men can be women. These were assigned opinions. They came from committee. And once you're without these opinions, what's left? There's no structure, there's no unifying principle, there's no leader. That's what you're feeling. Trump realized this already because he was outside of politics, that for the past 40 years, all political opinions were assigned. You could be a Democrat. He was.
Yep, exactly. Only partisanship. Ben Shapiro will always defend the Republicans, and give me a left-wing podcaster, guys. David Pakman. Okay, good. Thank you. David Pakman will just say nothing, only say partisan good things about the Democrats and partisan bad things about the Republicans. Now, in 2025, you got some people saying, maybe on the right, maybe we shouldn't be doing bending over backwards for Israel and getting into all these wars. You got Anna Conspiracy criticizing the Democratic Party for pretending that they're the party for democracy, but not allowing the Democratic voters to vote out Joe Biden, because they knew Democratic voters will vote out Joe Biden, and it will be a bad look for their agenda, right? This is the current state of politics now, and legacy media has not caught up. Pre-assigned opinions, that exactly encapsulate what the hell is wrong with the Democratic Party, because in my view, you can make the accusation that both sides participate in political tribalism. I would agree with you. But what I won't agree with you is who does it more. Who more frequently participates in political tribalism? On the right, when someone on the right does something radical and bad, some people on the right, half of the people on the right will criticize it. And everyone on the left will criticize it. When someone on the left do something, or something attributed to the left does something evil and bad, only 10% of the left will criticize it. All the Republicans will criticize it, and you got 90% of the Democrats trying to defend it. That's the reality. But, I digress. Wrap it up.
You could be a Republican. He is. So love him or hate him, he shattered this prism. There's no going back for Republicans and for Trumpers. Now it's the time for the Democrats to realize they've been suckered, that everything that they were told was assigned to them and not real.
Exactly. If you can't defend your position, it means that it wasn't your position. It was just something you were sold to do. It was just something you memorized and repeated. And that's a lot of Democratic supporters, a lot of Democratic voters. That's why sometimes you can't, it's almost like, do you even want to take the time to actually challenge them? Because in real time, when you challenge their thinking or their assumptions, how do you arrive at that assumption? I heard it somewhere in the news. It's pretty much the core weight of those conclusions. This is something someone sold to them. This is not something they came to their own beliefs. And this is why they fail at these little political debates. This is why they don't like to talk to people who don't agree with them. This is why liberals love to fall in their own echo chamber. This is why liberals are more likely to disassociate, unfriend with someone who has opposing political opinions, because they know a lot of their beliefs are based in fantasy, perception, propaganda, hoaxes. And that's the reality. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts and perspective in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next.